Now to something a little bit different on Fox Sports. Polo is often described as the sport of the upper class, with royalty amongst those that play the sport, but thousands in over 77 countries across the world also compete.
Yes, and some of the biggest stars are in Australia for Polo in the City, a series of matches across the country, and joining us is one of the game's most famous faces, Nacho Figueras. Mate, thanks very much for joining us. We appreciate your time. Firstly, you haven't been in Australia for long. What have you been up to? And I guess the weather hasn't been that great, has it?
The weather hasn't been great, but I've been doing press and trying to get this Paspaley Polo in the City series, which is played in 5 different cities in Australia, going. Next weekend we're playing in Melbourne, and hopefully it's not going to rain that much.
How's your team expected to fare in the event?
Well, you know, I always want to win, so I'm trying to make sure that everything's going to work well for my team and win.
Tell us about the event itself. It's quite foreign, I guess, generally to Australians, considering we love our cricket, we love our football. Tell us about the event, this Polo in the City.
So polo, it's a sport that has been going on for 3,000 years, and polo, it's been played in Australia for a while. There's a great Australian players, and you have great horses too, but normally these locations of these polo tournaments played in Australia are outside of the cities. What this event is trying to do is to bring polo into the cities. They had it in Centennial Park in Sydney 2 weeks ago, and we're having it in Albert Park next weekend. So the idea is that although it's not going to be the best game that you're ever going to see, because the conditions of the fields are a bit smaller, the idea is to bring polo to the people and to connect new spectators with the sport, and hopefully then get them excited about polo in general.
For those who don't know, you're a model as well. We'll touch on that in a sec, but you got into modelling just to promote the sport and give it a bit of a bigger name. It's not too big here, but what is its profile internationally?
So I've been working with Ralph Lauren for 10 years now, doing their fragrances and the ads for them, and they've been a great partner in trying to in helping me promote the sport, which is my mission in life, is to make polo more accessible and more popular, and obviously having them support me and having my face in every airport has helped me do so. And I've been doing also some events in New York City with Prince Harry and in Los Angeles, and these events here in Australia very much live for what I stand for, which is bringing polo to the people. So I'm hoping that this whole thing will be fun and work.
You mentioned Prince Harry, and we mentioned off the top as well, polo is often a sport which is, I guess, typecast for the upper classes or even royalty. How did you get into it? Was it something that I guess your parents did or your grandparents did? How did you get into the sport?
In Argentina, it's very much a horse country, and there's lots of flat land, so polo is pretty big there. And I just started, you know, with my family and some friends, and it's not a rare thing for a kid to grow up riding horses and playing polo. So that's how I started. And you've mentioned royals and all these things. I think, you know, polo, it's a fun sport. It's seen sometimes as something that is inaccessible and unreachable. It's not totally not like that. Polo, it's a fun thing to do that. On the contrary, it puts people like me, you know, from in Argentina with Prince Harry and here in Australia, you know, being able to talk to you guys. So to me, polo is a bridge of cultures, and it has been that way for many, many years. Polo is played all over the world, and people from all over the world connect and play polo together. So.
Chetty, as we mentioned, this man's pretty famous as being the face for polo. He actually was voted the 2nd most handsome man in the world, finished in front of Brad Pitt. What do you think? I mean, Chetty one time entered a similar competition, but he didn't quite have the same luck. What can you tell us?
That was an unfair situation. You should have done better.
You're a good man. Thank you very much. How do you balance that? I guess, you know, when we were looking you up on the internet earlier, these millions of photos came up. How do you balance that compared to playing professional polo?
Well, I am a professional polo player. That's what I do for a living, and that's what Ralph Lauren and all these brands that I'm connected with want me to do. You know, they really want me to be who I am and promote polo, and they always been very respectful of who I am and what I am, and it's just that, you know, I'm a polo player going around the world, representing a sport and representing a few brands here and there, just like, you know, every other athlete.
What's more important for you in Melbourne, to win the event or to get it to the people of Australia and I guess raise more awareness of the sport? What's more important for you?
I think it's a combination. No, as an athlete, obviously my goal is to win, and always, you know, winning is everything for any athlete. And but also I think that the message that I want to get across is, you know, polo is fun. It's a fun thing to do. It's a fun thing to watch, and hopefully more people will get hooked with it.
Is it a clear spectator sport, the people that go to this event in Melbourne? You think they'll be hooked from the outset?
I think polo is a great fun thing to do, you know, with your family and children and kids and dogs. You go out, you're on the air watching horses outside. It's fun. Hopefully it won't rain, and people will not have to be under umbrellas. But otherwise, it's a great fun thing to do. And then, you know, polo. When you play polo at a very high level, it could be expensive. And always people say, oh, you know, it's inaccessible. How am I going to do that? But to me, you know, once people get hooked and feel, okay, you know, if I ride a horse, maybe I can try and hit a ball here and there, and you start like that, just like a race car driver would start with an old kart in his backyard. You know, an F1 team could be very expensive, but you know, Mark Webber didn't start racing a $40 million car. He started with an old kart somewhere in the desert, I guess.
You mentioned earlier that you've played a bit of polo with the two princes. What was that like? That must have been, I guess, a bit of a thrill, and how were they like to play with and against and all that kind of stuff?
Mainly, when we play polo with the princes, it's about charity. Every polo thing that they do, it's connected to charity. So I've been helping Harry, mainly Harry, raise money for this charity called Senti Valley, which raises money for orphan kids in Lesotho. And it's been great. They're both very competitive, great riders. His father played, so they've been connected with the sport for a long time. But for them, it's about raising money and giving back to these kids. So it has been an honor for me to help them do so.
Well, thanks very much for coming in, mate. I'm sure the women of Australia are very happy to see you, and we are as well, of course.
Thanks very much for your time, mate.
Thank you for having me.
After the break.